Hi there and welcome to the PodPod, the Northwest's newest all-purpose recording studio for content creators. If you've got something to say and need a place to say it, search for podpod.uk. In all the usual social channels, give us a like and a follow and get in touch to reserve your time to create.
Right, so we're here today for our most up-to-date, our current podcast for the Proper Good programme, and this is our first of our In the Spotlight social enterprise podcasts, and we're here today with Stephen Wild, the founder of Mind, Body and Health. So welcome, Stephen.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
So it's, we've obviously been, you've been a massive supporter of the Social Enterprise Network over the last few years. So simple question, what is it that Mind, Body and Health does?
Yeah, so kind of just where I started. I've come from the sporting background and been a professional rugby league player for about 18 years. From there I transitioned into exercise, opened my own gym, and it's probably, the last 5 years, 6 years that I started to get people approach me around, mental health problems, mental illness, and just didn't know how to kind of angle that kind of side of it, the fitness side, something I could do, pretty easy, just come natural. So started to do a lot more studies around, improving mental health through exercise. We set up Mind Body Health pre-COVID, just like everybody else. We had to shut down. That time, I was lucky enough to find out that there was a new qualification coming out called Mental Health and Exercise, the MEC program, which I was one of the first, 20 coaches in the UK to join. Completed that, and what that did is just give me structures, obviously a level 7 qualification to work with people and just give me the bit of confidence that what we was doing with clients was the right thing, and just kind of covered our back a little bit. So now we work with clients, improving mental health but also physical health at the same time. We use exercise as a pillar around other structures of the lifestyle to kind of incorporate this, we call it scaffolding around them to support them improve mental health. And that's from anything from low confidence to people that we're working at the moment with full on depression to PTSD, and it's structured around them and built around them.
So whereabouts are you based? Do you have a physical?
Yeah, we have a physical wellbeing gym. So the first wellbeing gym in the Northwest, where we're qualified to actually call ourselves a mental health and exercise gym. We're based in Wigan Leigh, so near the centre. We have an online programme. We've rolled out a corporate programme this year as well, and we also work with children in the half-term programme. So we can kind of adapt it to age groups, to individuals, to groups. Once we've got the systems and structures in place, which we have, we then tailor it to what they need to help them mentally and physically. So we have a structured facility, but also we work with people. At the moment we've got someone in New Zealand working with us. We've had Australia, Dubai, so we work with anybody from pretty much from around the world.
So you mentioned about the first in the country, is it, or is this the first in Greater Manchester?
As of the moment, I'd say first. I always say the Northwest.
Okay.
I'd probably say there's not many in England.
Right.
The only one we know of is Scotland.
Okay.
So I want to be known as number one in Northwest, but starting being the number one mental health program or facility in Wigan. Start with the local community and build out from there.
Okay. So do you see, in a long-term ambition, do you see this being something that should be in every neighbourhood, every part of the Wigan Borough, every part of GM?
Yeah, I'd love to see it. We've had many conversations about these hubs and providing facilities for people to come and visit in, not just mental health, but in other areas. But I'd love to see, the mental health and exercise gyms or wellbeing centres to be put around Wigan and the borough. And then this should be, for me, I'm passionate about this. This should be rolled out, across the country, across the world. That something as simple as, incorporating what we do with exercise. And it doesn't mean, smashing the gym every week. For some people, we have them just walking and, moving a little bit more just to get out of the house, so it's individualised. But actually bringing these into, little hubs where people feel safe and secure to come in and visit us, to kind of put 5 or 6 of them around Wigan would be absolute massive goal for us.
So you mentioned about the hubs. Are these the family hub model? Because I know one's been launched in.
We've seen the one in Inlet. So before we kind of got introduced to the hub thing, we was looking to kind of launch our own wellbeing hubs. So
this is the Living Well hubs,
yeah. So we'd love to do our own, but I think with the amount of work what's going out in our sector at the moment, I think the easiest and the logical would be to actually link up with our organisations. That I think one thing I've learned over the last probably 12 months, there's so many great organisations in this sector that I didn't know about, and probably a lot of people in Wigan don't know about. So if we can kind of link up in some way or form, we're still getting our programme out there, still getting our name out there, but actually we're almost creating a bigger package in other parts of things that we don't provide, and I think that'd be the ultimate goal for us eventually.
Because I know it's something that we've always felt passionate about the work we've done historically in Aber and Ward, Platt Bridges, has been that the role of that, having a line of sight of a community business, let's call it, social enterprise, on your own doorstep, because it has the benefits of young people of all ages suddenly seeing that opportunity on their doorstep, because not everybody travels to Wigan or Leigh Town Centre or Manchester or Liverpool, for example. And I think also as well there's an element of having, their vision that you've got of having these in neighbourhoods, etc., because, there is concepts that we talk about, 15-minute neighbourhoods, things like this, because it does also have like environmental benefits, because, if local people have a facility like yours on their doorstep, then obviously that's reducing all the travel time and all the environmental benefits there. So, and ultimately an aspiration, so that when we look at our communities across the borough, they're changing from what they were 20 plus years ago with the mining industry and the neighbourhoods based around that. So it definitely feels like this vision, this dream you've got of having these should definitely feel like it should be achievable, and to us it's something that we should be really championing for you to make your
I think
vision true.
Actually the more people I meet in this sector, that we're all kind of got a passion of what we do and what we provide, and locally and communities, probably the art of everybody what we're doing. We want to provide something for all the community, we want to help people in our community. So looking down environmental and other activities wasn't something I looked at. It was purely that how can we help people, how can we remove challenges or overcoming challenges, if that's travel, if it's cost, if it's just where they're based, and getting to us. Then if we can change or take a few away them challenges that potentially would stop them coming to us or going to somewhere else, then that's where we want to be, to kind of break that. And that's why we invented coming up with the online program for people that maybe don't want to come to a gym or have a bit of a fear about coming to a gym or a wellness centre. So we work with them online and then kind of build that confidence up to maybe going out a little bit more, actually maybe building up to going to the local gym or something like that. So there's different aspects of what we kind of do, but I can kind of see this growing out and just kind of flourishing. And mental health is really high priority at the moment in Wigan especially, but around the world. And if we can have another mechanism or coping mechanism or something that we can offer people other than counselling, CBT, tablets, things like that, then I think it should be an option that we can roll out to people.
So we know obviously one of the challenges that people have when they set up their own social enterprises being that trying to not be reliant on grant funding and the whole element of we are social first, business second. So have you felt your core business plan, obviously you mentioned about the online stuff, you've obviously mentioned about the physical centres, so in terms of obviously your sustainability model in terms of your social enterprise, that's how do you ultimately are sustainable to deliver? Because we know full well from I know when there's been groups in the past, say men's sheds groups, other kind of mental wellbeing hubs, there's always been that feeling of them being more drop-in kind of place. But then the problem's then always been that there's no sustainability, there's no fee, but clearly you've got a fee structure to your service.
Yeah, I think I've probably come from a different avenue from more CICs. I've come from, this was running as a full limited company. So it was running as a full business where people funded it themselves. So, we kind of got into CIC after speaking to the deal team at Wigan, and, we're wanting to work with NHS and stuff. So we structured from, being a full-on limited company and converting to a CIC. So, we've got all the payment structures, we've got all the, everything that people probably struggle with setting up a CIC, kind of that business side of it. The probably tough side I find is kind of converting that to a CIC approach. So, looking at grant funding, looking at partnering up, local businesses, sponsorship, things like that. So that's taken a little bit of a while, because I think, for 10 years it's been a running company. So I don't think that's, going to be too tough to kind of, once we get in, but it's going to be, a lot of the stuff's going to be part funded. We're going to have full funding, and we're going to have, people that will pay, for certain programs and stuff. And obviously we just launched the corporate stuff and the wellbeing in workplace, so that will be funded by, the corporate. So everything what gets funded then can then look at, funding a program or part funding people. One thing we are going to be looking to do over the next few weeks, few months, is partner up with local businesses. I think, we've got, a big network of local big businesses in Wigan, and I think one idea is, to get them to sponsor people, where instead of us relying on the funding or relying on people to pay for themselves, get them to sponsor, 50% or even the full. We're actually giving back to the community themselves, and they're actually going to see the impact that they're going to have. They sponsor 10 people, they're actually going to see that, they've changed 10 people's lives, rather than, just handing money over for, a charity that they don't, speak to, or, they may get a spreadsheet back after so long. We can communicate with them and show them the work we're doing with them. So that's a big goal this year, to kind of, so we're looking at different avenues now, where, Ryan back 6 months ago, it would have been, what is grant funding, what is this, what can we do that. So I've kind of learned that, and that's been in, the Proper Good network has helped me, and linking up with people that's kind of helped me kind of mould the business model we are into a CIC model.
Yeah. And I think it's an interesting point, because I know over the years that we've always had this question around not saying what is the best avenue of setting up a social enterprise, because you're right, a lot of groups traditionally we've seen have come from the social passion, and obviously is what gets them setting up, but then there's always been the feeling then of it being the enterprise bit that is the struggle. So it's interesting that you say the enterprise bit kind of came first, and that's obviously enabled you to kind of understand the model, etc. But also then the social bit is obviously then ultimately kind of been not added on, but it's something that's fitted in. And I've always felt, certainly I've seen it over the last few years more and more, how the rugby community has got involved in the social side of things, especially mental well-being. Yeah. So that for me is a fascinating one, in terms of ultimately, why do you see, or why has it been that we know Wigan Warriors in general, for example, and rugby community here in Wigan has always got a great link, with the local community. We know it's always been a great platform for young people to know they want to aspire to be, like yourself, and make a massive career, as a great opportunity. But it's really great to see over the last few years the Rugby Leigh community put a lot back into the community through the Community Federation, but also social enterprise. So why do you feel in a way that the Rugby Leigh community has embraced social enterprise? Is it due to the fact, like you say, that since COVID, the mental well-being side of things it's been more evident, the whole, getting men talking, is there something? It fascinates me how the community is really...
Yeah, I think it's been a combination of everything over the last 4 or 5 years. I think COVID triggered it off for most people, where it was more aware. We actually experienced mental health ourselves, being locked up for 3 months or so. So we all had an impact in our lives. I think, as Wigan Warriors, the difference I've seen in them over the last 3-4 years, especially since Matty's taken over, is actually the Kerber community. They understand that their business model doesn't run without the community, without the fans turning up. So, for them giving up a bit of time each week, each month to invest something back into them, obviously it's looking after community, but actually it's going to pay them back in dividends in 5-10 years, when these kids are growing up to be adults, either to play or to actually watch the game. And now we're starting seeing the amateur clubs do the same. I've got to say, Rosebridge at the moment, probably one leading the way. What Mark Holker's done and what they're doing in the communities is kind of taking what Wigan are doing as a professional and bringing it to the amateur game. And we've spoken to a lot of amateur clubs now. We're kind of taking that model of we're kind of the art of that community, or that neighbourhood. We bring a lot of kids off the street as well. We provide family, that support and that kind of community every week with games and training, and it's about time we kind of give a little bit more than come and play a game and stuff. So it's a lot's changed since I've kind of made that step into professionalism and income from the amateur. But I think as we'll get a bit more aware, and we're probably educating ourselves a little bit more, that these clubs and people like myself and that have started to kind of invest back in the community, which in the long run we want a thriving community, and that's essentially what they're doing.
I've always felt over the years that growing up, the role that the rugby league community plays, and I never quite realised until 4 or 5 years ago, in terms of when I look at other economies in the borough, such as the culture sector, for example, how it kind of goes back to that line of sight. I know when I was a child growing up in Abram, it was kind of commonplace to see Andy Gregory walk down the road. It was common to see Sean Edwards pop into the local chippy, for example. I know at the local school where I'm a governor off at Blackbridge, the deputy head teacher there is married to Liam Farrell, and the rugby league community is in everyday life, but then equally you then see it on national telly in the evening, and that line of sight, like you say, there with Rose Bridge, prior to that with, say, primary schools through to Rose Bridge, and then through to your St. Pat's and into there's a buy local approach, which is great with rugby, and we know that fits with everything that ourselves, like I said, Wigan Council talk about from a community wealth building point of view of how do we keep and stay in the Wigan Borough, and it always feels like the rugby league community has always done that. And I wonder, and I'm always fascinated then to see how we can get the rugby community almost like teaching those beliefs to, say, the culture sector, because maybe we need a successful, more vibrant, I don't know, nighttime economy where more young people from a culture point of view who might want to be on the stage can see, there's obviously the conversation, if the West End was in the centre of Wigan, for example, like the rugby league community, you'd suddenly see more young people wanting to aspire that. So for me, it's really fantastic that the community has got involved in it and ultimately are the pathway for how community wealth building should be. And I think, like you say, the whole, I know there's groups we worked with in the past. I know we worked with a social enterprise that a few years ago taught some rugby league players how to do ballet dancing, and that's amazing that kind of happened. The fact that Matty Pete and the rugby league community through a social enterprise called Pianos, Pies and Pirouettes, and it really felt like that, like you say, the embrace it. So for me, there's a lot of learning that other economies should do, and like I said, the rugby league community is definitely leading the way. So obviously you mentioned before, but obviously the big part of what you work on is the mental wellbeing side of it. We know in Wigan there's a growing community health building sector. You said so you've been involved in some of those conversations. I know there's, like I said, Melissa Taylor from Groundwork, people like that. Are you engaged in that sector?
Yeah, we from day one, the big goal was to get out and meet as many people as possible, to get in these subgroups, and to kind of see what's going on in Wigan and what we can add to them. What we put in our experience as well, or my experience of what we've been doing for the last 10 years, and the rugby. We're taking a lot of tools from that rugby background, and it's a lot of that is embedded in the programme what we're doing now. So incorporating that, we're speaking constantly to other partners, other programmes, the charities that to see where we can add some value to their programmes or to what they're offering. As you said, there's a lot of great charities and CICs and programmes out there what do a lot of drop-ins. We've got a lot of men's, women's clubs, but for us it's like, what's next? What can we offer to that? What's going to enhance their programme, or actually create a new programme for what they're offering at the moment, and actually doesn't offer us or don't cost us anything, or very little apart from time. Or so we're constantly trying to work with people and even give them some advice or show them what we can offer their programme, and vice versa, if they can bring in something to us that we've not looked at, or something that we can offer people or refer out to, then that's only going to help us in the future as well.
So we know we talk a lot about community health building or social prescribing. So in terms of your service, if somebody was going to the local GP and somebody prescribed to go to Mind, Body and Health, what are those outcomes? Because there's obviously a massive amount of outcomes that you're supporting people on. So what are those outcomes that you would say? So if you were sat here with a GP and you say, signpost them to my service because I can, there must be a amount of...
and that's probably been, over the last 3 years, the toughest part, to kind of get them tick boxes. It's very easy to put someone in front of us, and show them 3-6 months after to go, look how good they're doing now. But actually get that done on paper to go, this is our social value, this is what we bring. Getting with GPs is probably our ultimate goal, or working with the NHS where we can get them referrals is the goal. But the kind of impacts we have to look at is like, impact on sleep, stress management, coping mechanisms, family life, work, stress, balance. We look at them, then we look at mentally, where they were at when they started the programme, if they was on medication, if they were seeing counselling, or was they just, struggling with anxiety, where it was affecting that they weren't working, or so we can, because it's so individualised, we have the kind of, I don't say the basic things, but the kind of lifestyle things that we can see that we can improve. We can see someone can improve in sleep and, their energy balance, but then we have to go a little bit deeper on, we're not going to say that this person is going to be, off all antidepressants when they come with us and when they finish with us, but what we can do is support them, that they're on a pathway that's going to benefit them and the family in the future. So I think that's where the kind of sticking point, or the tough part, to kind of show that social value of where, where a client comes in at this point and he or she leaves at this point, and all the tick boxes we've got. We've had some great results over the years, and we've had people who've come off antidepressants, people that gone back into work, people that's changed jobs, because that was probably the biggest impact. People that's reconnected with family. So we know we can do it. We know we support that. We do a lot of video testimonials, because I think actually even from the person is probably the biggest impact that we can show to GPs, to groups, that just sit and listen to 2 minutes of this person to speak, and the difference in body language and how they are talking now. That, I think that probably says a lot. But we know we need them impact reports to kind of get out on the variety with the government and everything else. So it's a tough one, but I think for us it's like, ticking them boxes and then showing the mental side, showing the physical side as well. We say that the body's a byproduct of us being mentally well. We don't focus on weight loss, we don't focus on changing body shape, but generally a lot of them do, because they're changing their lifestyle, they're changing their eating habits, the sleeping, the stress mechanisms, and so generally we do see that as a byproduct, and we can show that as well, that this person has obviously lost X amount of weight, but actually focusing on that, and that ticks another box for the NHS as well, with obesity and disease after what comes with obesity and everything. So there's a lot of boxes to tick, and I think it's just sticking in that little lane of just, this is what you want to see from our end, this is what we can show, and then we put a little bit of extra in at the bottom of this is the impact we actually really have when you speak to these people.
And it's good you mentioned about the case study, because I know that's something that, speaking to a few funders and other like grant funders across the country, that seems to be something that more and more seems to be commonplace, that power of having that video, that case study. Because you're right, it's amazing to kind of have that person be able to speak about their journey, and sometimes it's easier to kind of get that, how you've intervened, how you changed that person's life from a video. So I think it's really good you've got that, and it's something that I'd always say more social enterprises should kind of do. It's time consuming, we know this, we know the barriers of a social enterprise. It'd be interesting to see from your side, because I know you've got a new family now, so congratulations.
Thank you.
So that even more so now obviously adds the pressure on, because I know one of the other barriers is obviously this is your social enterprise, this is your, so in terms of a lot of groups, as you say, the impact measurement, financial accounting you have to do, as any company would have to do, or your day-to-day delivery. Do you have fears that this could end up ultimately creating barriers for yourself, and ultimately, because a lot of social enterprises we know are based around the one individual who's developed it, and maybe sometimes we haven't been great at succession planning. So do you have lots of other staff who maybe enable you to take a bit of time? especially now, like you say, now
Yeah.
you've new family. That's crucial.
I think for me, it's obviously having my own company for almost 10 years. 10 years this month, so I've learnt a lot. I did all that at the beginning, where you kind of, you're doing 60-hour weeks, doing everything, and that's where the kind of program develops. So everything I do with my clients, I do myself. I don't ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do. So planning, routines, kind of stepping back sometimes when I need to, coming away from the business when I need to, is everything I kind of preach and actually do myself. I have staff that help out delivery. We've got so many systems now. I'm so grateful that I still work with the MEC program, the qualification. The reason why, because everything's changing pretty much monthly on what mental health and what we can offer, and also giving us science-backed evidence that we can actually support what we're doing. Actually, big part is actually go with them and say, I'm struggling, let's say with our lifestyle check-ins and stuff, where it's taking hours and hours every week. We can actually create something that may give me an hour back. And we've got so many systems now that actually some days, I actually finished at 1 o'clock and I actually don't know what to do, where I start to look for work, and that's when I have to kind of come back to myself and go, you've earned half a day off here, let's go and spend it with the family. And obviously having the baby now is going to be tough, lack of sleep and stuff, so that's going to be tough to kind of get over them initial few weeks. But I think as long as I stick to the process of everything that I do and what I'm teaching, that eventually things will kind of level out, and I can still have that family time, still running a business, but also having the people around. We've just brought Chris on board, who's really passionate, and hopefully he'll be the next MEC coach at the gym. Eventually we want everybody working at the gym to become a qualified MEC coach. So again, it takes a little bit of pressure off me, and in time we can have, if we have 10 or 15 in Wigan that are actually working in different hubs, that would be awesome. And we've all up with the systems and everything, that we're almost got our own little mini hubs running around Wigan, but run by the actual the trainers and stuff. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough for these first few months to kind of get into that process, but I think if I can see the process, I'm already working on it. I went back into work last week, so it was tough leaving a baby at home and kind of still in that bubble. But this week it's been a bit more focused on planning my weeks, planning my months, focusing around what days I can have off, afternoons, and hopefully that'll kind of ease off over the next week or two, work, and kind of fall into a routine, natural routine.
Because it is like I say, it's always been one of those maybe perception from the outside that, like I say, a lot of the social enterprises, in terms of that, like I say, it's that sustainability, that if we were looking at a commission or long-term funding, there's always been that risk that a lot of social enterprises are based around that, like I said, that one individual, and we've seen it happen too many times where, and it's really great to see that you've got the business side of it, you've got all that kind of in mind. So in terms of you've obviously mentioned at the start about obviously the hub, so if let's say this was a perfect day, obviously and you woke up and all your dreams with this one, what would that look like then? So you're saying before about the hub, so is that your vision? So in 5 years time, what do you see Wigan as being?
Fast forward 5 years, for me it'd be facility where we have the gym side of it, we have classroom sides where we bring in, I'll use Epic Hope and places like that, the Andy's Man Club, other charities, other CICs, we can still run out them. We've got mental health and exercise, we've got a kids program running, we can bring corporate in, we're actually a drop-in centre as well, so it's kind of a combination of everything what we're seeing at the moment, with the drop-in for men's clubs, for women. We'll have our walking groups, meeting up bases, run clubs, whatever, we feel like the community is going to benefit from, even the craft places and stuff that we've seen a lot of, and almost have it all under one roof. So it's not that I'm coming to mind, body health because I've got, mental health issues. I'm actually going to there because they're running a great program with craft, or they're running, a running club, and, to better themselves in different ways. So it kind of takes that stigma that, this is just all about mental health where we are, and it's almost that we can call them a well-being hub, but actually just being like an hub where people actually know what's on in the area and actually go, we're actually running this and this, and they can come in and take part. Even we have our own counsellor, Lee, who's an ex-rugby player, which is does a lot of work with our groups, group focus groups, where we just talk about what's going on in society and kind of just reframing, rather than all the negative what we see on social media and in the media, that actually let's put a positive where we are. So actually having Leigh doing face-to-face stuff where it's a drop-in session, or we can actually look at where we can do full trainings around lifestyle, even things like on how to cook proper and how to cook healthy on a budget, simple things that we don't really think about. And again, it's only over the last 10 years that we've worked with so many clients that go, I can't afford to cook on a eat healthy on a budget. So we'll actually well, how can we help these people eat healthy? Right, we'll cook some trainings on this. I will show some simple recipes what I've done in 10 minutes. People who can't cook, that's a big problem at the moment, especially with the younger people that I've never been shown to cook proper. So how can we show them how to cook simple meals? So almost everything in under one roof, almost like not like a school, but something that offers everything. We can bring all different groups and people into that. That was kind of where I see it. The gym is one part of it, for people who like to exercise and stuff, but actually we'll have the mental side of it. We'll have other avenues of other CICs to kind of use that as well.
So obviously it sounds amazing, and it does definitely feel like, well, we know it's needed. We know you're obviously making a success of it. So if you were sat here now with, say, somebody from the NHS sector or somebody, what would your request be? Because we know at the minute, as social enterprises, we want to show that we're not grant reliant, that we are sometimes often seen as being in the voluntary community sector, which people always see us as being in that charity sector side of it. But as you've explained a lot, you are a business as well. But a lot of your work obviously is to do with obviously the commissioning side, the social prescribing side. So if somebody was here from, say, the NHS today, what would your request for them be that they need to do better at? Because we know as part of the community wealth building, community health building, a lot of conversations going on, which is fantastic in the Wigan Borough, and it's brilliant that this is obviously progressing. But still a lot needs to be done. So what would your...
Yeah, I think kind of from my experiences, we've spoken to a lot of departments and they love the idea, but I think it's that kind of getting across, because it's totally unique. It's not like we can say we know it works in this part, or we've seen this in this part of the country. It's actually just taking that first step, backing us for, if it's 5 people, let's try it with 5 people and show what we can do. And then, it's up to you then if you want to commission us, if you want to, refer people to us. For us, I think it's just someone taking that chance on us. We worked with 30 people last year, new people in the gym side of it. The year before, I think we was on something like 37. The year before, online and at the gym. On the downside of that, we're probably averaging 3 to 5 people a month we're turning away, just because the funding side of it at the moment. So, we're bringing in probably 3 to 5 people a month, and if we can get commissioned or get some funding for them people, even if it's part funded, we could be up to 50, 60 people that we could actually be changing a lot of lives in Wigan. And that's just with the people that we've got working at the gym. And then we start branching out with bringing in more people. The ultimate goal this year is work with 50, 60 people. 40 of them are going to be funded. 40 of them are going to be paid, self-funded. And we're looking at 20 to 30 people with, either grant funded or sponsorship on that, or part funded. So for us, we want to kind of still have that self-funded avenue, because some people can afford it and can afford part of it, but also we do need that that free sponsorship, or that referral scheme for them people that just can't afford any kind of service, mind something what we offer. So I think for us it's just someone taking a chance on us, someone actually going, I'll give you 5 people to kind of get the impact reports to show us what you can do. And I guarantee you, once we've got them 5, we'll probably be inundated then, and that's something that we're pushing this year to kind of get that, because like I said, we've worked with 30 people last year. We've got all the impact reports, we've got the testimonials, we've done everything with that side. It's actually getting the referrals, or getting someone to go, I will pass you some people on to kind of get that side going. And that's where the big focus this year's got to be.
Honestly, it sounds amazing, and I hope obviously businesses, people from the anchor organisations listening to the podcast here would obviously, I'm sure they'd obviously be passionate, because you have to listen to see the passion you have with this, and obviously all the case studies and everything you've done so far. And I just really I think as a champion of the social enterprise sector, over the years, it's just refreshing to see so many amazing new social enterprises. We reckon we have around about 250 in the borough, and obviously the work that you guys do is amazing. So for me, if there's any businesses out there, anything, they should sponsor, because we know a lot of businesses as well. Obviously, it will impact them. It'll be a massive support to them. So if anybody out there is keen to find out more about yourself, how do they contact you? Do you have socials?
We're pretty much on all social media, either with the gym or myself. I'm very active myself on social media. I understand that we have to be posting stuff, we have to be showing what we do. We also got our website, we have our emailing list and stuff, so we try and make it as accessible for a lot of people. We know that's probably the hardest part for a lot of people to actually reach out, but again, we do have processes in what we speak about and how we approach people in any kind of matter, what if it's via email or social media. But generally, most people will drop us a message on social media in some form, and we can just have a chat and see where that kind of takes us.
Fantastic, brilliant. No, that's an amazing. So that's Stephen Weil from Mind, Body and Health. So yeah, amazing work. Well done, Stephen. Appreciate everything you've done for the Wigan Borough now and over the years. It's amazing what you've achieved so far. So fantastic. Thank you very much, Stephen Weil.
Appreciate that, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks.